this program going, and we really have enjoyed the opportunity to bring industry experts to our students, our alumni, and anybody that's, within our network that decides to register and be a part of this program. There's always somebody fascinating to learn from. Most of our guests are alumni, but we have 37 years of alumni history, and our alumni are doing great things out in the industry and media, and it's always our pleasure to bring them on back to you and give you the opportunity not only to hear their story and their success, but we love the open mic part of the program where we open the mic to your questions and you have a chance to ask an expert who's going to help you as you develop and grow in the field that you're looking to grow in. So my name is Linda Lejeski. For those of you who may not have met me, I am the National Employer Representative for the 7 schools. This program is brought to you by Career Services, and on tonight's call, most of our career service directors are here. We invite you, if you don't know about us, to learn about us. We only teach media, and we'd love a chance to tell you more about our programs and the things that we're doing and the great opportunities that are available to you with the BeOnAir network. If you're joining us in real time, we love that. We love that a lot. But if you're joining us on YouTube, we're really happy that you've come along to us. We have a wonderful selection of media and education on YouTube. And I know in the chat, we have a link to the YouTube, and we invite you to take a look at what's inside, because there's a lot to learn and a lot of experts to learn it from. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. Everybody's mic has been turned off while we begin our conversation, as that's what Garrett was alluding to. If you have questions, please feel free to use the chat option. You can go ahead and put your questions in chat. There's also an option to raise your hand. Up on the top, you're going to find an icon where you can raise your hand. So if you want to get in queue to ask a question, feel free to do that. We love to give you the opportunity to ask your questions yourself if you would like to do that. So when you're called on, if you would just open up your mic and ask your question, make sure you're very specific in what you're asking, and then give G. Bush a chance to answer your question. It will be a really great hour for all of us. So without further ado, I'm your moderator tonight. Our regular moderator is taking a group of students to a TV studio and couldn't be available, so you get Linda Lejeski instead. But I have to tell you, it is my sincere happiness to be able to bring you G. Bush, and I will tell you why. Garrett was one of the first alumni that I met when I came to the BeOnAir network of media schools at Ohio Media School in Cleveland, which is his alma mater. And from the very beginning, when I reached out to Garrett, there really isn't a more generous person out there. He wanted to talk with students. He wanted to mentor. He wanted to offer ideas, come to campus, be a speaker, be involved with their day-to-day life. And when I look back at the history over the last 5 to 6 years and the number of students to graduates that you have really impacted their lives and helped them to grow in media, it is with a sincere thank you that I say, you're really one of the best. Your heart is all about raising up the next generation and showing that there are ways to achieve your goals, even as time has changed what we know as radio and broadcast. And you are really a true example of that. A little bit of background about G. Bush, if you don't know him. He's really a legend in Cleveland. He is a 2010, how do you like that? Did I do well with that? I love you. A 2010 alumni of Ohio Center for Broadcasting, which is what we were called before we became Ohio Media School. Garrett loved sports since he was a young kid. And so he would love to go to his uncle's barbershop and talk sports, and they would give him the floor. And if any of you know anything about barbershops in the city, that's what people do. They talk about what's going on as they're getting their hair styled. And it really is a place the community comes together. And so that was his beginnings. He played sports all through high school. He was played for the Canton McKinley team, which is a team of great notoriety in Northeast Ohio. And then he went on to Ohio University, where he got his degree in marketing. After his degree, he came to Ohio Media School, Ohio Center for Broadcasting, because he really wanted to add to his technical skills, because he wanted to sleep, and drink sports. That was his goal. And so I'm going to let him share more about his story. But what I will tell you about his story is that as he landed his opportunity in radio, it began with that, the Barbershop, which is appropriately named after what he did as a child, talk at the barbershop. But from the Barbershop, which is on Audacy, you'll part of 92.3 The Fan, you'll also find Garrett on many platforms, and his current big project, which is very successful, is the YouTube TV, which is carried by Tegna Television in Cleveland. It's WKYC Channel 3, and his story is really an exceptional story of somebody who loved what he wanted to do, carved it out in radio with an industry leader, but has grown on many platforms and diversified his journey. So how'd I do, Garrett? Did I get most of that pretty well?
I mean, man, like you can, my wife would probably want to speak at my funeral, but listen, you are on the short list. You made me sound spectacular, man. Half of I didn't even really, I don't even deserve that, but I loved it.
You're so awesome. Thank you. It's, what I say is so true. And if you talk to anybody that knows G. Bush, they're going to repeat the same words. So flattering me. I appreciate that. But, Garrett, we're going to kick off tonight by let's do a little introduction on your own, just to tell us briefly from your start, to how you arrived where you're at, the short form.
Yeah, we'll give you the short end of it. And I'll start by saying that you guys can do it too. And that's the first thing that I always preach, is just not just my story is, yes, it takes hard work and dedication to get there, but I'm no different from any of you guys. I want to thank you guys first and foremost for coming on and just being here. I know some of you are moms or dads. We have 100 million different places we could be right now, but you're taking time out of your busy schedule and your busy time to hopefully listen to me, and hopefully I can be of a blessing or give you something that helps you in your career. As Linda said, my name is Garrett Bush. I'm currently the host of the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan. I'm also the co-host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show with Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Tyvis Powell, and Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. I'm also the host of a Browns Now show and a Cleveland media show on Bleacher Report. So I've been doing that for about the last 6 months. And then also I am I don't like to say a CEO. I guess I'm the owner of the Barbershop. We have clothing and merchandise and different things like that. And so I've been able to do that. And then we've diversified, which is something lucrative. We've diversified into K-1 visas and helping people immigrate to America. So a lot of that being said, I grew up in Canton, Ohio, born and raised in Canton. I played for Canton McKinley Bulldogs. We won a couple state championships, and it's part of the rich tradition of Northeast Ohio. I went to Ohio University. I graduated there in 2006, and I played football at Ohio University, graduated with a marketing and communications degree, and started on my way and thought I was going to go into financial planning, financial services in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I went to after I was done with school. And then I was there, and stock market crashed of 2008. And I was down to my last couple $1,000s. And my mom and dad were so gracious to let me come back home and figure things out. And one day I was on the couch, and there was a local guy named Bruce Drennan who used to do a show called All Bets Are Off. And there was a caller who called up and said, "Hey, Bruce, I'm a young guy. I'm a young student, and I really wanted to get into broadcasting and radio and television." He said, "What would you suggest?" And Bruce Drennan said, "Hey, Gene, hook him up with the number to the Ohio Center for Broadcasting." And the only problem was I was already out of college. I was already pressing 30, and I wasn't eligible for any financial aid or student loans. But I'm so happy that I heard that, because I jumped up. I went to the phone. I called up. I scheduled a visit. And the previous administration that was there, I went and gave like my last like $2,000, $3,000. It was like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to pay for the rest of it, but I'm going to show up. And so luckily, I ended up getting a scholarship award to help pay for some of it. And then, I started my career. I got my first internship at ESPN Cleveland. And then from there, it was kind of how the whole whirlwind thing happened. I can't believe that was in 2010. And I landed my first full-time job, not full-time, but my first job in the industry, working at the Fan, answering phones in 2011. And I've been there ever since.
That, you know what, that's a great story, and it's almost impossible in this day and age to believe that you're still on the station, right, that you
Right.
began in. I mean, that's a great story, and, Garrett, his show is called The Barbershop, which is based on where he grew up and learned how to start orating. And when I think about you, I think about your merchandise, because I think the first time I met you, you handed me a mug that had The Barbershop on it, right? And I drink out of it every every day at work. So I'm very appreciative of it. But what a longstanding, what do you attribute your longevity on the station to?
Well, one of the things I remember, and at the time, and God rest his soul, one of my instructors was Matt Lodi, and he had worked for a long time. He was the beat reporter for the Indians. It was Indians back then, Guardians now, and he was a professor, and he was one of the guys who would teach and judge our work. And one thing that he said is, once you get your foot in the industry, one of the things that you have to do is make wherever you go be your place. And when you're there, it's easier to build relationships at a place than it is to go somewhere else and start building relationship every 5-6 years. The industry will tell you now, young kids coming out of school, they'll say, listen, nowadays, no one retires with a gold watch, and you work 7, 8, 9 jobs just to get your foot in the door. And then, in 2 years, if you've done really well, you should be off to another place, because you're losing money if you're at one place, and you can use that as a place, a stepping stone. What I learned was, I knew that I was already in the city of Cleveland, and I already knew how passionate the fan base was. And if I wanted to create a fan base and people that would support me, I would rather, take 5 years to get a foothold in Cleveland than 2 months to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so what I really did is I just stayed and I carved out, and I just kept waiting, and I knew I wanted to be on air, and it takes a little bit of time to be on air. So, but while I was, in the ranks in the minors, and, guys, I would tell you now, I mean, when you work with Jeff Phelps or Andy Baskin, or you work with my mentor, Kendall Lewis, who passed away, they gave me my first opportunity to kind of like talk. Like, my program director would say, stop letting Garrett talk so much. He said, we want you to run the show. And he would say, no. I like the young guy is good. So they gave me an opportunity. The Les Levines of the world gave me an opportunity to speak. And then when I got it, I took that, and then I went to the internet, because then the internet would be a place where I could work on my craft and carve my teeth and carve a niche and work on my skill set. Sometimes you don't get an opportunity to just go right to the radio. The internet, I guess, was, to me, I kind of saw it like that was the next place that it was going to be really big.
So I love that, that you kind of drift into that lane, because, when we think about the industry today and the opportunities, they're so different. There's still on-air opportunities, and yet at the same time, it's hard for somebody to really get that exposure on air if that's what they want to do. And of course, internships, that whole concept is different than it used to be as well. And so it's challenging, so for, the people that are on here tonight that are really thinking this is a pathway they want, what are some additional ways? You mentioned internet radio, but how can you get your voice heard as you're working to get your voice heard?
Listen, that's a great question. And the best place in the world is YouTube. I started on YouTube, and to put it in perspective, what I'm doing now, and they're paying me to do this, is basically YouTube television. It's YouTube, right? YouTube is the biggest search engine in the world. YouTube is the reason that there's so many Americans and people around the world are cord cutting, and we don't have cable. It's the only place in the world where you can go directly to find exactly what you want, whether it's home and gardening, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's right there for you, and you have an opportunity to cultivate a fan base based on people who love you, right? And you know, I'll give credit to one of my favorite musicians. His name is Ryan Leslie, and he talked about it during the early, I think it was the early 2010s, and he said, you know, I can, you know, I can get a major record label deal, right? And they'll give me an advance, and I'll get $250,000 or whatever the case may be. He said, but what if I were able to tell you that I could know the name, the age, and the favorite song of your 12,000 most loyal avid listeners, and each one of those people bought your project independently for $10 or $12. He said you can make $700,000, $800,000 just on 12,000. You don't need you know, to make a living. You don't need 300,000 subscribers. You could do very well with 100, 200, 300, and it'll eventually grow. But the internet and YouTube is a very low cost way. Everyone has internet. You invest in yourself and get a camera, and it doesn't have to be anything big or the set you see behind me now. I started very small. Like, it could just be me in my camera in a car talking about how bad the Cleveland Browns are. And that's how my YouTube started. And from there, it just grew to this. And sometimes it's hard because you never think that someone will find you, or you just doing these shows into the ether. But if you do content and you're really passionate about it, and you're very passionate about what you do and very pinpoint, you can get an audience.
So that's so great. So now we've, you know, established that the content is good, the content's creative, we're growing an audience. What are we doing when we're not on air to continue to drive that audience back around to our YouTube show or our podcast? What are your recommendations?
It's all about standing out, and standing out doesn't have to be negative, or it doesn't have to be looking for like a hot button topic. It's all about consistency. And one thing I took and said, okay, for myself, I said, all right, I want to be in sports, right? But how do I differentiate myself in sports? Everybody in sports has a take, but what is my voice, right? And I said, you know, I'm the voice of the people, right? And you know, I created, you know, I would take the little money I had, and I invested into a custom championship belt. As a matter of fact, hold on.
It's there.
As you can see, here's my custom championship belt.
It's awesome.
It's the people's champ. Hold on, I'm doing too much. Put that down there. I get excited sometimes. I get excited. But I got the custom championship belt, and I said, you know what? We used to do a remote, and I said, I'm gonna take it around and I'm gonna wear it. And people would look at me and be like, what the heck is this guy doing? Why does he have a championship belt?
Right?
But it was a conversation starter. I said, you know, how many sports talk hosts have their own clothing line? So shout out to my mom. My mom, I love my mom and my dad. Like, when I was on their couch, they retired, and I never forget, my mom and dad gave me like $4,000, and they didn't even, it was out of his retirement. They didn't even have it like that. So they just gave it to me. And the first thing they said is, okay, I said, I want to be able to get clothing and merchandise. So the first thing they did is we got an LLC, and I was able to trademark the Barbershop name, logo, and create an LLC. Then I was able to start some clothing. I paid a designer to have it. I paid, like, you know, 4 or 5 artists to create music beds. So when I would play it, it would be unique music. So all I wanted to do is just create a niche for myself to say, hey, it's that barber guy, right? Like, what is he? And when I would meet people, I would give them items, just like, you know, I met you and gave it. And you know, I always said, you know, marketing in college helps you out a lot. Because I remember having these credit cards that that I would have, because it would be like 26% interest, because I would go to these games and be like, hey, you want a free t-shirt? I'm like, heck yeah, I want a free t-shirt. Let me sign this paper up. Let me get one of these shirts. And I remember, and somebody in my marketing class, they said, when you give somebody something, they'll use it and they'll have that forever, even if they don't know who you are. So that helped me a little bit. My mom and dad helped me with marketing and doing that. And the cool thing about it was today, one of my proudest things ever is I used to always worry about how my mom and dad were like, fixed income and, how were they going to pay for certain things. And the cool thing about it is they own 25% of my company and I'm able to pay them every single month. They get a check from me just from their dividends. And so that's the proudest thing I've been able to do since I've been in the industry.
You are so awesome. And, I think about each time as I meet you and you talk to a group, you always go back to, home. You always go back to that couch, right? And you
Yeah.
tell, because that's your humble beginning. That's where it all began. And I love, that whole idea of marketing and merchandise is such an important part, right, of a business. So, maybe let's talk a little bit about that. You have a marketing background, and you knew
Mhm.
that items, right, items with your name were going to allow you to live on after you walked out of a room, and so on and so forth. So, for our guests that are on board, as they're getting started, do you recommend that they create some sort of niche, create some sort of a shtick that separates them from others? What would be your thoughts on that?
You have to have something. And it could be anything. Just think of, I watch so many. One of my favorite shows on the internet is called Country Style, and it's a bunch of country people who live on a plot of land, and they've gone back generations, and they've owned this plot of land, and it's like a communal thing. Like they all cook, and they all they all the theme is they put a pot of something on, and the smell invigorates the community, and people come from everywhere. And I watched it and I said, man, there's a thing about being country, right? They're proud of being country. They're proud of, meager beginnings. They're proud of, hey, we might not have everything, but we got spirit and we country. And we believe in that. Everybody know. So when I'm watching it, they were able, out of just that community feel, they were able to do and throw some of the biggest burn-offs, some of the biggest country cook-offs. And there are 5-star Michelin chefs that are showing up to compete in this. And it's just it's the community people, and it's a hodgepodge of everything. And when you have something and it's unique, people will buy into it, right? You say what you want for a lot of people. The one thing that people want, and I realized as I would listen to sports talk, everyone sounded the same. They're like, oh yeah, the Cavaliers, they shot 95% from the 3-point line, and they just have a couple more games, and if they can get over the hump, maybe they can make the playoffs in 2025. You're like, listen, no one talks like that where I come from. We are emotional. We're like the Browns lost, and I was melting down. I called myself the Duke of knee jerk. They say you got knee jerk reactions, and no, I'm the Duke of knee jerk. I'll flip out, but at the end, people will respect you for being authentic. So if you're a mom, be a mom. If you love to cook, love to cook. If you're if you love your family, make a blog about your family. Let people know who you are. And when people know who you are, right, wrong, or indifferent, you'll endear yourself to people.
Oh, that's such great advice. Authenticity. It's such a big thing. And I think as, we move through whatever that post-COVID
Mm-hmm.
statement is, it seems as when I talk with employers, they're really looking for people that are authentic, that are
Mm-hmm.
dependable. There's no more of that like stuffy, I'm this one and, don't
Yeah.
touch me kind of thing. Everybody is, really a lot more human. But, with those tendencies, how about work ethic? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Man, it's a big one. I've I don't take this one lightly. I was just talking to my mom, and she came over, and you know, I was telling her, like, you know, at this point, I said, you know, so tough, mom, is before I just wanted all these opportunities, and now I don't have any enough time to do them. And she said, well, that's part of growth, right? You know, you can't do everything. You can't be everything for everybody. And she told me, she was like, you deserve time off. And she said, do you know how many birthdays you missed? And it hit me tough. It did, because right now, me and my wife got married a year ago. I'm 42 years old. I don't have any children. I have a little niece, right? And my mom asked me all the time, what are we doing? I said, we're financially okay. We can probably have a kid now, mom. We're working, right? But she said something that hit me. She said, you know how many birthdays and Christmases and holidays? I worked every single holiday since 2011. I never turned one down. Christmas, the Super Bowls, Thanksgiving, my mom would make me a plate, and I lived in Canton, and I would drive from Canton to Cleveland, and Canton to Cleveland is probably about 45 minutes, an hour or so. But I used to have to set the national network up so that the Browns feed can go off of the national game day producer. So I would be doing the game day controls, and I would be there at 4:30 in the morning. So that means I would have to leave at 3:30 or something crazy. And you know, I've worked every single weekend. You know, if you want to be in sports, I've done it ever since 2011. I say that to say this: if you love something, it's not that it's work, but you got to be willing to make some sacrifices. And you know, I tell people all the time when I meet people in person, and a lot of times when you go back to school, I said, you know, my dream is about 4 relationships ago. I've like I've been engaged 3 times. I've been divorced once, and I thank God all the time that I'm married to a person I am today that understands it. She never makes me feel bad about choosing it. She supports it. When she came here, she would go to all the events and all the little stuff that don't count, the remotes, and there's 5 people there, and it's cold as hell. It's just
Right?
so right.
Yeah.
You gotta find somebody that supports your dream. And I'm happy because when I found somebody that did support it, my life took off. It was easier. I didn't have to fight over. But there are also going to be many sacrifices that you do have to get in time, effort, and doing. And I I always tell people when you're trying to make it, you never really say no.
Boy, that's a big statement, and it's so true. And so I think, you really make me pause and think about that, who's in your network, who are your people, right? Because it's so easy to get distracted
Mm,
and taken off course, which distraction is healthy at times, right? We all know
yeah.
distraction is a good thing. But when you're really focused on the things you want to do, let's talk a little bit about the people you surround yourself with and the importance of that posse, right, to
Mm-hmm.
achieve your goals. Why don't you give me some feedback on that?
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and and trust me, I'm a late bloomer. Sometimes I wish I would have got this in college. I've been further along, but hey, and you got it while you get it, right? Um, I believe in hanging around people that's more successful than you.
Mhm.
Um, if you look around, and a lot of times when you're around, and it's not about like trying to down people, it's you just want like-minded people. You know what I mean? You want positive people. You want go-getters. You want people that are motivators, right? You want people that you see like, wow, that man, he's doing really good, man. Whether it's sales, hey, he was top salesman in his company. Hey, where are you going? Oh, well, his wife was, number one sales or in real estate. She's doing really good, always on the Diamond Club. The people that are out on Saturdays doing the extra stuff, like when you're around those people, it gives you extra energy and it boosts you when you don't want to do it. And I learned that about sports. When you want to get to the highest level, everybody in sports is good. Everybody can, shoot or run fast or whatever. but the LeBron James, the guys like that, the guys that are at the top of the food chain, the Joe Thomases, when you talk to those and you interview those guys, I've been able to interview so many, really like, top notch, not only athletes, but people, you start to realize that they have certain habits. It's a pattern. It's not something that just comes to them. It's something that they got to plan to. And so I always believe in hanging around people that are more successful than you. When I went on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Adam the Bull had already worked on 92.3 The Fan for 12 years. He had already had a #1 radio show in New York. Jay Crawford worked with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and all these other great people. And I was the new kid. I was just, they found me on the internet doing a Cavs post-game show with like 60 people listening, and Josh Cribbs happened to be under contract. I don't even know Josh Cribbs. He's one of the greatest Browns of all time. Josh Cribbs happened to be under contract, and they said we need somebody. We need somebody that fits this demographic. This sort of personality, and they took a shot on me. And the first 3 or 4 days, people are looking around like, who's this G Bush kid? I mean, I don't know. And I'm up there, and the first day they come around, and the executive producer is from, he used to do a show called the Best Damn Sports Show, period. Chris Rose is going on to do crazy things, and he's MLB Network, NFL Network, and they had this guy come in and critique everybody. In the first episode, I was just sitting there like this, looking around and they're like, hey, you have to say something. And I remember Jay and Bull and the rest of them, and I think Jay for specifically pulled me aside. He said, hey, they brought you on here to shoot. You got to shoot. You don't freeze up now. He said, listen, if I'm over talking, you got to find your way to force your way into this conversation, right? Because whatever they saw in you, we need that. So we were doing the taping, and I was like, well, you should have never said that. So now here we go. So I got in there, but I say that to say this: when you don't be alarmed, don't be intimidated. Go ask those questions. Go. There's nothing wrong with getting that information from those people, because that experience will help you out. And that's what I try to do when other people ask me questions, is give that same feedback as well.
That's awesome. I'm thinking at this stage of the game, is there anybody in our audience that would like to ask any questions? If you would like to raise your hand, we'd be happy to entertain some questions.
Don't be shy.
I know they're a quiet bunch. Yeah, let's see.
There we go.
Okay, William West, we've got a hand raised.
Hey, what's up, G Bush? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Super proud of you, man. Everything you've been doing. You definitely the face of like Cleveland sports right now, locally, and you doing your thing nationally. Super proud of you, man. Just keep up the great work. We actually we met a few months ago. I met you at Dave's. He was in there buying up all the fish. You know what I'm saying? So I know you've been real busy with the end of the football season, and I know you had like some health things going on. So I know you're doing good now, man, and hopefully we could collab soon. You know what I'm saying? Work together. But I guess what my question, what I wanted to ask is, through your journey, at what point do you feel like you made it, or like you met like a level of success that you felt that you were achieving, that you feel good, like, okay, I feel like I belong, or you know what I'm saying, like I feel like I'm at this level where I'm having this certain level of success?
Actually, I'm gonna be truthful. Like really never. I just because like you said, like I met you in the grocery store, and like we definitely gonna do a show together. Like for me, first of all, I love your persistence, and I love the fact that you in here, and you always, and here's the good thing too, always remind people Like, don't be shy. Be like, listen, you said you was gonna do a show, and I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna show up every time, and you know what? That we gonna get that show done. But I never, you know why I'll never really feel like I've ever made it? Is because there's always other people that come behind you, and there's no rules to this. Like, listen, you can tomorrow come out and have a podcast, and you could be 10 times bigger than me. This game is shoots and ladders. It's not. That's the great thing about it ain't like it was before. It was like you don't go somewhere and you just get the ball and you get to be the man for 25 years. Nah, it's a new podcast every week. I'm sure that people looked around and Pat McAfee, you know, they thought Pat McAfee had a little YouTube show, and then Barstool gave him like $300 million or something. Everybody got an opportunity to do it. That's why I'm so excited about the internet, is because the internet is there's no barriers to entry. All it is you putting your work in. So I always think I always meet new people, and I'm always thinking of different ideas, right?
It's great stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Carlos, do you want to ask a question?
What's up, G Bush?
Hey, Carlos, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine, G Bush. I got a bone to pick with you. I'm a long time listener. I just don't call in because when I call in, I want to be like the Mary Kay Cabins and the Daryl Rodgers. I want to be on the North Coast Hotline. But number one, man, don't forget about my boy Kai, man. You know, I know he have his weird ways and this and that, but he hit one of the biggest shots in history, man. About to take about Kyrie or Donovan Mitchell. Just don't forget about Kyrie, man.
Shout out to Kyrie. By the way, shout out to Kyrie Irving. I told somebody that they was he gonna get a statue one day. I love Kyrie Irving. I think if you look at it, and Kyrie Irving is a case study for what we talk about, how you can go in terms of marketing yourself, right? Kyrie Irving had one of the best gym shoes in the world. Kyrie Irving, he was selling gym shoes like it was his job. The only 2 people or 3 people who had signature Nike deals in the world at one point in time was like LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. And it shows you what you can do. It also shows you different ways you can think about it. Like, I look at it, a lot of people in business wise. Kyrie Irving got an independent shoe deal now. He went and got an independent shoe deal. But if you look at his independent game and his independent shoe deal, he makes more money almost on his independent shoes versus what he's making right now. And a lot of it too, and you, for what you say, whatever you would like about Kyrie Irving, it also says that when you get on the microphone, always remember this too. When you do get on a microphone, there's 1 or 2 ways you can look at it. There's 1 or 2 ways. You can say anything you want to, but you also have the consequences that come along with that. So it's like I always say, we always got freedom of speech in this country, but at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for what you say too. So that's just a blanket disclaimer. And a lot of people, there's a lot of people that get caught because this microphone is intoxicating sometimes. You'd be like, I could just say this. And you'd be like, my mom and my wife pray for me. They just say, they pray a lot. Sometimes my wife is over there looking like, to turn it off, cut it off. It's time for you to go sleep. You're just doing too much.
Well, and it's interesting. I think, when you're on YouTube, right, you've got a lot more freedom of expression than you might on traditional radio. You can have a lot more opinions, but you still have to answer to somebody. And so that's a great point. In your mind, you've got to have that meter set, right?
And not to cut you off, you said it so perfectly, because we do a YouTube show, and that YouTube show, you can say anything you want on YouTube sometimes, but here's the thing. You also got to remember that if you say certain things, you get demonetized. So you put a lot of work into getting those views. And then when YouTube says, oh, you can't see it, you got demonetized. And we also know that I made a decision, and it's just me. I made a decision that, like, I wouldn't curse on YouTube. And the reason I said I wouldn't personally curse on YouTube was because I understood that if I get used to that content, when we moved to WKYC, which we did on Friday,
Oh, it's great.
they not playing around. They like the suits. Oh no, they changed. I said, yeah, we thought we made it. They put us on TV. We was like, wow. And they're like, yeah. So let's talk about what you can't say. XYZ. It's live TV. And if you say one bad word, you're never coming back. And I said, oh goodness. So I'm glad I didn't go that route. But it's decisions you make for it. Everybody makes their own decision.
Yep, that's a great answer. And truly, when you think about the pathway that, you started your YouTube and your sights were on, getting into TV with your YouTube, your own platform, diversify, and you wound up there. So it's a business at the end of the day, and you've got very important decisions to make, right, as to how you're carrying on. So that's super cool. Thank you. Hey, we've got looks like Lorena has a question for you. Lorena, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hey, Lorena.
Hello, how you doing, G. Bush?
I'm doing good.
Okay, that's good. So, first I want to say I admire what you do. I hope I can be on your level one day.
You can. You can. You can.
Okay, but what stuck out to me, what you said is what your mother has said. You can't do everything at once. You have to pick something, and that's what I'm struggling with. Because like I know I want to make content, but it's like I have so many like passions I want to do. Like I want to do fitness, I want to do beauty, I want to do sports or any life stories. So what will you advise me like to how to narrow it down? Should I just pick one, listen one through, make a number list, like what's more important, or just let it flow naturally?
Like I'm smiling so tough because I was a procrastinator. If my mom we would go to the grocery store, she said, pick a candy bar. I'd be in there for days. I have a Baby Ruth, then I put a Snickers, and I'm like, and then it would just be overwhelming. And I was like, man, I ain't never gonna be able to make no decision. This is crazy. And when it comes to YouTube, right? When you're starting off, here's what you do. People think like when you put your first video out, they think that that's everything you're gonna have, and that's it. And that's what we expect from you after that. Or you put the first video out and you just blow up. That really doesn't happen. And it's good that it doesn't happen, because what it does, it gives you growing space, right? If you go back and look at my YouTube before, I would talk about anything. I'd do sports. I'd talk about life. I would talk about, fitness and clothing. And there's a person, and this is for you, right? Are you aware of who Kevin Samuels is, right? Well, Kevin Samuels is he's a life coach, a relationship kind of guru. He tragically passed away. But go back and look at his original content. At the end of his life, he was getting 500,000, 600,000 views an episode. Go back and look at his first original content. And he was talking about what men should do to go on interviews. He would give you advice about what men should dress like, and should you wear a black suit or a black tie, or here's the fragrances you should use. And the long story short is, in the beginning, you might not know what you want to do. That's okay. You have room to figure it out. And sometimes the people will declare what they like. That's the great thing about it. You'll look at it and a bunch of people say, I want you to do videos about fitness. I want you to do video. I really liked your videos on just giving advice. I really liked your blog about your family. And sometimes it just hits you. And then my last thing is, I'm a very spiritual person. And what I do is I always pray and I say, God, lead me to where you would have me go, and I'll gladly follow. And it took a lot of time because I'm a Scorpio and I'm hard-headed and I think I know everything. But sometimes when I pray in meditation and be still, then it comes out and it leads to the path where I should be at.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Hey, I'm a Scorpion too. Is there truth to what you say?
Right. We want our hand. We gotta know. Like, what you mean uneasiness? I need to know what's going on tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, I fall in that category too. Okay, right. Okay, thank you very much. Amanda, do you have a question? Amanda?
Maybe
No,
her mic isn't working like mine did.
it's possible. We'll move to Ben. Ben, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, Amanda, yes, please go ahead. Thank you. Good
Oh
job.
goodness, thanks. I couldn't figure out how to unmute.
We're happy you're
It took
here.
me a
Sure.
second. I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. This has been a wonderful space, and just thank you so much for your time. And this has been a pleasure. But my question just piggybacks off of the last one with YouTube being. For me, YouTube will be a new space. I do dabble in all other social media platforms for the most part. For me, it's just going to be in the YouTube space, and maybe this can be from your own personal experience. Do you have recommendations in regards to the time frame? Are you seeing that? I know there are shorts, and you could go for an hour or 20 minutes. Are you noticing that one time frame is seeming to be more successful or holds people's attention better than others?
So there are some tools out there that I would think that people, as you get more, I would say consistent. There's some things out there that can help you, like Video IQ. Is a browser-based thing that it's a paid subscription, but it's like $9 for some of the lower tier things, and it'll tell you the best time for your content where you can upload to. I think when you take a look at that, there's also other things. Let me give you another one. Just make your TubeBuddy is another one. TubeBuddy is another one that can help you, and it can basically, I would say, more than time, it's about search engine optimization, right? What are your titles, right? What does your description look like? Because YouTube is basically a search engine, and if you don't put the right tags, the right things in, people won't be able to find your information. The thing that you want to do is, say, for instance, if I'm doing a blog on food is a very competitive space. So what are you going to put in the description box that cuts through the rest of it, right? What type of words that are enticing? What do your thumbnails look like, right? Because we don't click really on the words, we're clicking on the thumbnails. Are the thumbnails vibrant? Does it show a person's face? Are you smiling? Is it colors? It's all those things go into an algorithm of how people find your content. And that for me was the most difficult part, because sports is competitive. So what I used to do, don't tell anybody, I'm giving a secret away. I used to watch makeup tutorials, right? And the reason I used to watch makeup tutorials is because makeup tutorials are very competitive. It's super competitive for you to rank, and ranking means just basically if you type in makeup tutorial, where your video show up on the first page or the second page or the third page, or will show up at all. And what I learned was it's the how they put the thumbnail, how they labeled it, what did they put, and when you got to the video, were they able to hook you for the first 10 seconds? What did they say in the first 10 seconds that had me not click off? So that's a lot of different things. I would say for the most important thing for anybody that wants to do YouTube is consistency, and don't set yourself up I think I always say, don't set yourself up for failure. If you know you have a busy life and Tuesdays and Thursdays are horrible, and you got the kids and you got certain other things, you got church group, or don't say I'm going to upload every single day, because that's not going to be sustainable. Say I'm going to upload twice a week, and You upload twice a week, and the YouTube algorithm will still respect it because it's consistent. Consistency over clutter, consistency over a bunch of them. Don't do 100 videos and then stop. And usually people will get burned out. I got burned out. If you go back and look at my YouTube, there's a whole space between 2017 and 2018 where I didn't have any content. I was burned out. I was just doing videos. So long story short, there are some things, TubeBuddy, Video IQ, or something that you can do to be paid. Always wonder and figure out about the thumbnails, and more than anything, consistency. Even if it's only once a week, try to upload once a week and be consistent.
That's great. YouTube is a beast, right? I mean, there's just no two ways about it. And, getting those watch hours in is really challenging. So we know with the shorts, right, people are attracted to them and they might subscribe, but you're not getting the viewer hours. So, can you address that a little bit? Do you have some thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, shorts are great because shorts, everything is going to a more digestible content, right? I would do long form videos, and I very rarely do them anymore. I could do them after a Browns game, because people are hot and bothered about the Browns game. But more than likely, I wouldn't suggest anything over 28 minutes at a time, because people, generally speaking, are going to watch your content when in between when they can get to it, right? Maybe they're in their car, they'll listen to a podcast. Maybe when they're at lunch break. Lunch breaks are typically 30 minutes. If you work for a great company, it might be an hour, right? So they want to watch something within during a time frame in which they can digest it. Here's what you want to do. You want to use it as everything in moderation. Your shorts could be something that hooks people to your larger content, right? And hey, if you like this type of content, I have longer content, other shows that you can use as well. And figure like this. Collaboration is really big, right? Collaboration with other people in the space that you work with. That's why I'm a big person in collaboration. One of the biggest collaborations that I work with is a guy named Quincy Carrier. To put it in perspective, in the beginning when we worked, I only got about 14,000 people, and people may sound like that's crazy, like 14,000, but he has like 40,000, right? And when I was getting started, people used to always say, well, I like his content better than yours. Or his content is this. I don't like what you said. He's better than you. And I would always say, listen, I haven't checked his videos out. Let me check him out and see what he says. Love this content. So when people hit me up and say, I like his content, I say, I like his content too. Maybe we can collab. And it got around, and now we do a show a week. And sometimes I'm so busy. I used to have him on my platform just to, come on, and his audience would come over and share views. But now I'm so busy, he just has me come on, and I don't even have a problem with it, because we have a chemistry, and there's a group of people that like our content just when we're together. So work with other people as well, and lend each other's fan bases.
You know what? I absolutely love that, because, I think about when kids are in school, whatever, not kids, but our students are in school. And oftentimes, they look to the left, they look to the right, and somebody has skills they don't have. And they feel like, oh, I'll never be great like that. But you really should never look at it that way. You should look at it as, wow, they have these skills, I have these skills. Let's bring it together. So that's such a great lesson, G. Bush. I just love it. Respect the people around you. Right. Yeah. Because you never know where that next connection is going to come. So that's so awesome. We're going to get to bed in one quick second, but our hour's running out quickly. And you had said something earlier that stuck in my mind. And, for many of the people that are joining us tonight, they're getting started, and you've given them such valuable information on how to value themselves, right? And the work they're doing. But I'm also thinking about, as they're thinking about guests they might like to have on their show, and maybe they're dreaming big. Personally, I have an opinion. I think you should always invite out, but could you share your thoughts on, inviting people in to be your guests, and how do you present yourself in a professional way so that you can bring somebody around to want to help you out?
Yeah, here always this, and this took me a long time to get. I worked on Saturdays, and Saturdays in the industry is, hey, Mary Kay Cabot. Shout out to Mary Kay. She's a pioneer, but it took me a long time to get Mary Kay on my show. It took a lot of time to get guys like Jason Lloyd, and for a long time, those guys are doing these shows. They're doing shows during the week. They're writing articles during the week. Saturday is like family time. Also, they're traveling. They're traveling with the team. They're covering the team full time. And what I learned was it's always a great day when you continue, and a lot of people won't see it this way, but you'll keep working and you'll keep working. And I remember my my mentor, BSK Kendall Lewis, always told me, I used to get frustrated because after a while, I felt like I had put in enough work to get on air. And he said, don't get frustrated. He said, what you need to learn is when you can do a 4-hour show with no guest, that's when you've made it. That's when you're there. And so what he used to do for me is he had a stroke, and he taught me how to do a show where I could have my own style, and it didn't seem like I was only it was just me. And so he would say, it's like the art of storytelling. You can use personal experience, you could tell a story, you can mix in humor, you can, talk about past and the history and all these other things. He says, you're a smart guy. There's a guy, his name, Paul Harvey. My mom used to listen to Paul Harvey, and I used to be in the car. And for all you guys out there, you check out Paul Harvey. He would tell these stories, and he ended up, and this is the rest of the story, right? And he'd be able to, and I would be fascinated. I'm like, man, this guy is telling me I was just in Rome, and then he took me back to, the 50s, and I don't know what, so it was, I understood what he was saying. But when it comes to like guests and things like that, when you're able to work on your craft, and other people will see your growth, and then they'll say, hey, if you ever want me to come on your show, I'm available. Mm-hmm. And you turn around and say, what? Hold on, you talking to me? Is that me? But always shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. Be very respectful. Be very, right now, I'm glad you asked me that question, because I'm doing the Ultimate Brown Show. And right now, I'm trying to get people to come on the show. So this is past and present former Browns players. Now, before, Tegna and WKYC books the guests. Now, they're like, we pay you to be the producer. You're supposed to be the guy. Why we're paying you to get the people, right? And they got, sometimes if they're big enough guests, they pay them to come on. But now I got to have a good enough show that these people want to donate their time to come talk. So I got to I write it down. I ask my producer, hey, what's the template for asking for people to come on? Should I go through the agent? Should I go through the people? But the best way to do it, simply be very respectful. Say, hey, I got this platform. If you want to see a snippet, here's a link to my content. I'd love to have you on. And Twitter is free. And you'll be surprised how many people will respond to it. Bill Simmons had me on out of the blue. I don't know. It just out of the blue. I went viral one time for Damar Hamlin, and then like everybody wanted an interview, and then I was just like, okay, cool. But still, even today, if I wanted to get, it's hard to get guys. One of my favorite players, like, I want to get Michael Jordan on too. I think he's kind of busy.
But you really never know, right?
You never know.
You never know. So you should take your shot. I like that advice.
And be ready.
Be ready. That's it. Like, you don't do an outreach unless you've got something to show for it, right? So
Get the camera
if you're
first.
asking for somebody's time, that's good stuff. We're at 7:30, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time, especially yours. Do you want to take that? We have one last question up there. If we take one last, and then we're gonna wrap. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben, you were patient. Do you want to ask a question of G. Bush?
Yeah, hey, how's it going? My name's Ben. I'm from the Cleveland area too, and I graduated from the Ohio Media School. And I'm a young guy. I'm 21, and it's my dream to make it in the sports broadcasting world. And it's been my dream since I can remember. Cleveland sports has always been a huge passion of mine, and so just from being a young guy, and I've done like sit down interviews with players. I found a passion for doing interviews with people, and I've got my own channel, and I've reached out to college players, gotten some. Biggest one I probably got was like I got someone from West Virginia's men's basketball team, got to do a like Zoom interview with him and all that and everything. So
Awesome.
I've got some experience in that field and everything, but just trying to like figure out the right way from the age I'm at now to go about it all and figure out the right step to continue that journey. And I was just wondering, from all the experience you have now, what is something that you wish you would have known from when you were first starting?
I wish I would have known that the biggest step and the biggest hurdle is just push and record. You think that you need a game plan, and you need the best camera, and you need the roadcaster and the best mic and all the lights. And I hope this encourages people. I thought I was going to do this series, right? So, I went and got these fancy intros, and my series was called underrepresented, right? It was called like it was basically going to be a series on people who had one great year that was just, people didn't really respect. Like, this guy had a great year. Like, he had the best year of his life, and he never played anymore. But this year was like one of the best years statistically. And it would go on, and they had these graphics, and I got a voiceover person, and I got it. It was crazy. I had music beds and everything. And I did 2 episodes. And then it got like 300 views. It didn't do nothing at all. It got like 300 views. And then I would go to other people's channels, and there's a guy who does exactly what you do. He has a niche where he talks about college basketball and college football, and he gives stories of guys who came out of high school that were really highly recruited, and he would take and edit and narrate it and say, this guy was a 4-star recruit and 5-star, and he would tell the story, right? And they were good storytellers from chronological order, from when they started to when they finished, and what are they doing now. And there was no crazy intros. There was no crazy edits. It wasn't a voiceover. It was just them. And these videos had 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 views. And it just taught me there's a market for everything that you can do out there. And what happened was they were just consistent. Your video might have been cool, but guess what the algorithm said? YouTube is an advertising agency, right? And so YouTube takes a bunch of companies, all their money in advertising dollars, and they say, okay, we want to put this advertiser with the correct content of people that are going to watch for the whole video because it gives us more time to advertise. So it don't matter what all the bells and whistles is. Like, people that are interested in your content, they like it. The advertisers like it. And the biggest thing that you got to remember is just hit record. You'll get better. You'll develop an audience, but just make time to hit record, and don't be stuck in minutia worried about like everything. You'll get there.
Oh gosh. I'm always reminded of that phrase, practice equals success, Garrett. And so thank you. Thank you for reiterating that over and over again, because it really can never be said enough. Garrett, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, I know we can find you on Facebook and Twitter, but what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Listen, this is the and I text, and William will tell you I text. It may take me a little bit of time to get to you, but I believe in always mapping and networking. You can reach me directly at gbush91@hotmail.com. Gbush, that's my regular email. You can tell it's old because I still it's not no like at Bleacher Report, like it's Hotmail. So I still answer, right? You can catch me, and this is my number. You can reach me 330-284-8749. And the reason I always give out my information is because a lot of you will be apprehensive to do it, right? A lot of you would, that is, when you meet people, always give your information and always ask somebody, hey, what's your contact information? Because at the end of the day, that's how you build your Rolodex, right? You guys may not seem like you guys are huge or big today, but guess what? You could be a great video editor. I'm like, listen, I might need a video. I want to start a blog. I don't want to edit this myself. Hey, I might need somebody that could do this. Always make sure you give out your information, ask for the information back. And that's how you build your contact list. It's not LinkedIn. Go to the events, but yes, that's good. But make sure when you do meet people, give them your information and ask for contact.
Thank you. That the biggest pearl that people gain from attending the BeOnAir Forum is the opportunity to network with people who truly want to help raise them up. And G. Bush, you continue to show that over and over, and that's why the world loves you. So thank you. We are gonna close down. We are past the hour, but please reach out to G. Bush. You can send him be respectful of his time, please.
Send me a text message in your name. Send me your text message, your name. Hey, Garrett, I met you at the BeOnAir Forum. This is my number, contact information, and that's fine. I'm up all the time. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a fun hour. It went so fast. So come back and be with us again. And thank you for your time, G. Bush.